Good morning, it's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself, and today we are going to talk about nervous system regulation. I've been talking about the law of assumption, calling back your own power, creating your own reality lately. And there are many of you who say, I cannot do this because I cannot feel it. I literally cannot feel the state that I want to create. I cannot hold that state because I am ravaged with symptoms. I cannot create the reality that I want to be creating in my mind because I cannot get into that state even for one moment because my symptoms are so strong and so heavy. How could I possibly manifest what it is that I want? How could I create this reality if the only thing I can focus on is my symptoms and I can never create this imaginary state, let alone believe it, let alone know it to be true? So I hear you out there. I absolutely hear you. And one of the main reasons why you cannot use your mind to create is because you're not standing in your own power yet. And the reason that this is happening is because you are still in a survival state. And there are many steps and layers to healing. That's why I created my Become Your Own Healing program, because we have to work on a body level, a mind level, a heart level, and a soul level. Healing happens in layers and stages. And if you cannot create your own reality, if you're having a hard time working with the laws of assumption, manifestation principles, laws of attraction, it is because you haven't done the work prior or underneath in order to access your higher states of consciousness, in order to be able to use your power to create the state and create what it is that you want. So let's get into nervous system regulation, because this is an area of healing that cannot be overlooked. This has to come. It precedes. It's working with your beliefs and working with your identity, working with your worldview. Right? It precedes all of this. It is more fundamental than that. It comes after the fundamentals of health. This is called nervous system regulation. Now, many and most people who have chronic illness have a dysregulated nervous system. Being and facing chronic symptoms and a chronic illness puts us in a state of survival. And I'm sure many of you are aware of the fight, flight, or freeze response. The truth is, you can only be in one of two states at any given time. You can be in a sympathetic nervous system dominant state, which is the fight or flight state, the freeze state, the state where you are in survival. Or you can be in the parasympathetic nervous system state. This is the rest and digest state. This is the state where healing happens. So you can only be in one of these two states at a time. You are either in a sympathetic dominant state or you're in a parasympathetic dominant state. But you can be in varying degrees of sympathetic dominance and parasympathetic dominance. So it's not always concrete or black and white, because there's degrees of coming into and out of these states. But you can only be in one at a time. Now, when we have chronic illness, when we are talking about long-standing symptoms, whether they're physical, mental, or emotional, when we're having sensations and symptoms in our body, when the chronic illness or condition has been going on for a long time, this by default, usually, most often, puts us in a sympathetic dominant state. This is a state where we are scanning for danger, where we're on the lookout for danger. And the body in this state has one job. You have one job from this primal state of being, and that is to keep you safe. That is to protect your life at all costs. So the nervous system in this state of being is trying to protect you, and it's trying to keep you safe. And it does this quickly and very unconsciously. This happens at an unconscious and a subconscious level, like breathing. You are not doing this. Your nervous system is doing this. And it does it without any of your conscious input, much like beating your heart or breathing. And it is doing this because it does not feel safe. It detects a problem. And when it detects a problem, in which it cannot find a solution for, or it detects a problem in which it's not able to solve at a conscious level, this is when the nervous system kicks in and unconsciously puts you in a state of sympathetic dominance, the survival state, the fight, flight, freeze response state, in order to protect you and keep you safe. It is very important to know that you cannot heal from this state. Not only can you not heal from this state, but you cannot do much of anything from this state. This state is designed for basic functions. The reason why it's designed for only basic functions, like keeping you alive, breathing, beating your heart, and other basic functions that you need to be able to do in order to survive, is because imagine if you were running away from a tiger or a masked murderer. You do not have time to digest your food. You do not have time to ponder higher states of consciousness, to work with your emotions or feel them, or feel your trauma, or use your mind or your energy or any higher principles at all. In this state, your only job is to get away from the tiger. And so all of your mental, physical, and emotional resources are put towards fighting, flighting, or freezing, or fleeing the danger in front of you. It literally doesn't want you to be able to solve your relationship problems, or to have higher states of consciousness, or to ponder the meaning of life, or to sit and digest a wonderful meal, or to be able to sleep peacefully. Your body does not want you to be able to do any of those things. And that is why it's extremely difficult to do any of those things when you're in a sympathetic state. So if you are in a sympathetic dominant state, you will find it difficult to sleep, difficult to digest food, right? This is why we have sleeping problems. This is why we have digestive problems. This is why we have all kinds of problems. This is why our mind races, right? This is why we cannot think. We have racing thoughts. We're unable to complete tasks or focus or concentrate. Why we have brain fog, why we're dizzy, why we feel anxiety. And so you might think that there's a massive problem because all of these symptoms are going off like crazy and you cannot do basic tasks anymore. But this is what the body is designed to do when it's in a sympathetic state, when it's in a fight, flight, or freeze state, when the body needs to protect you from danger. This is what happens. Your body does not want you to be able to do any of those things. It turns off the resources to do any of those things, and it puts you in a heightened state of awareness, and all of your energy goes to getting to safety, to becoming safe, to getting away from the problem. Now, this works well if the problem is a tiger running after us, or if it's an axed murderer running after us. This design works properly and it works well and it fulfills its function in saving our life and getting us to safety. However, if you are dealing with a chronic illness, with a nervous system that is causing you symptoms that mimic chronic illness, the danger and the enemy becomes your own self. It becomes your own body. And now the nervous system turns against itself because the thing that it is trying to fight, flee, freeze, get away from, get you away from this danger is your own body, is the symptoms themselves. And when this happens, we develop patterns and loops that keep us stuck in this fight, flight, freeze response as an ongoing mechanism where we are now not afraid of the danger out there, but we are trying to run and escape the danger within us, our own selves, our own body. And since we cannot, the symptoms increase, the fear increases, the response increases, the helplessness increases, the desperation increases, because you can never get away from yourself. And when you fear yourself, your own symptoms, you create more of this in this loop, in this sympathetic dominant state loop. That is why it's chronic. That is why it's ongoing. And that is why nothing seems to work, including using the laws that I'm talking about, the law of assumption, the power of manifestation, creating your own reality, because you simply cannot do any of those things from a state of nervous system dysregulation. And so we grow more and more fearful over what is happening in the body, the symptoms themselves. We start to visit doctors, we go to emergency rooms, we get tests done, we get diagnoses, we're convinced there's something wrong with us. They really can't find the root cause of what is going on. And that is because the root cause of what's going on in this situation is nervous system dysregulation. And the only cure for this is to unwind the nervous system, which can be a lengthy and difficult process, but it is the only way out. Because as you will remember, I started this video by saying there is only two states that you can be in a sympathetic dominant state or in a parasympathetic state. And this is the only state in which you can heal from. And the reason why you can heal in this state is because now your nervous system can handle things like digestion. It can do things like sleeping. It can do things like thinking, using our mind. It can process emotions. It can process higher thinking. And you can use your conscious awareness to affect a change in your experience. You can do this when you are in a parasympathetic response. That becomes available to you where it wasn't available to you in a sympathetic response state. And so if all the mind training, if all the brain retraining, if your emotional processing, if your energetic work and working with all the different laws is not working, you're stuck, you're at a standstill, you can't seem to make them work for you in any way. You cannot hold a state, you cannot process your emotions, you cannot seem to use your higher consciousness to work with your reality. If it feels like it is not available to you, it's probably because it's not available to you. You're not in a state where you can access any of the healing work necessary to heal yourself because you're still in a state of survival. And so this must be dealt with first. Now, many of you are probably asking, how do I get into a parasympathetic state? I'm trying to calm myself. I'm trying to do these things, and yet the symptoms are still raging, and yet I still can't digest. I still can't sleep. I still have racing thoughts. I still am obsessive. I still am suffering. I'm still in serious chronic pain. I still have alarm bells going off like there's something wrong and I'm going to die. So the important thing to know, this is really important to know, because this is a concept that you need if you're stuck, if you're suffering. So listen very carefully. If you've kind of fallen asleep here, wake back up. You cannot tell your nervous system, tell your mind, you cannot use your words. Use words, the English language, thoughts in your brain. You cannot use these thoughts or words to communicate to your nervous system. Your nervous system does not communicate in words. It does not communicate. It does not hear the message you are trying to tell it when you say to it, I'm safe, calm down, everything's okay. Like when you are telling it this, it cannot receive the message or communicate with you in words. It does not communicate in thoughts. So when you're using your thinking to try to override these negative, scary thoughts that you're having with positive ones, with calming ones, When you're trying to use your thoughts, it cannot communicate with you through thoughts and words. And this is when we get frustrated. This is when we give up on techniques like brain retraining or positive visualizations or affirmations and conclude that they don't work. It is not that they don't work. And I want to repeat this very clearly. It is not that they don't work, but they don't work for you yet because you're not in a state that you can use them yet, because your nervous system doesn't communicate through words or through thoughts. The only way to communicate with your nervous system, to tell it that you are safe, is to show it. So that is so important. I seriously hope that you heard that. You cannot communicate with words or thoughts to your nervous system that you are safe. The only way that the nervous system receives the proper communication from you is through showing it. The nervous system must feel it. It must feel safe. You must show the body that you are safe. You must show it. That's how we communicate with the nervous system. We show it. We don't tell it. We don't use thoughts to communicate. We show it in our body. The way that the nervous system receives this message is that it feels it. It feels it in the body. If it receives communication and it receives and it feels safe, then it will turn off. Then you can get into a parasympathetic state. Then your body, your nervous system, unconsciously, without your help, switches into a different state of being. Switches into a state of being that you can heal from. So it doesn't matter what you tell it, how often you give it positive messages or positive reinforcement, or tell it that it is safe, it cannot hear that. It is like trying to speak English to somebody who can only communicate in Italian or Japanese. You are not speaking the right language if you try to tell the nervous system that you're safe. The only way it receives that message is if you show it. The nervous system has to feel it. It has to feel it in the body. That is the communication that gives the nervous system the message and the signals to stand down, to turn off, that you are safe, that everything's okay, that the tiger's gone now, that the axe murderer is gone now. It has to feel it in the body. It feels safety in the body. It feels it at a primal level. Doesn't matter what you say, it will not listen to you until it feels safe. So the way that you communicate with your nervous system is by showing it so that it has a chance to feel it. So that the nervous system has a way to feel it and to receive the signals and the message that you are safe, and it is safe to turn off this adrenaline response that is in your body. And there are many different ways that we can show the nervous system through the body, through somatic tracking, through somatic experiencing, through breathing, through gentle movement, through soothing. Right? There's all of these different techniques that work to show the body, to help the body feel safe, because it's a different language that we're speaking to the body. We are communicating, in a sense, through sign language, through the body, right? Not through English, not through words, not through thoughts, through a felt sense of safety. And these happen through our sensory perceptors: sight, sound, taste, feeling, touch, the environment that we live in. All of these are ways, right? Through our felt senses, we must communicate safety to the nervous system. And this is why this is part 3 of my program. It's so in-depth, it's so intense, because it's not a quick fix when we're talking about showing the nervous system safety and how we do this, how we communicate with this. And it's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing thing. And the reason why it's an ongoing process is because your nervous system is sensitized. What does that mean? It means that you've run from a tiger once in the woods already. So even if you've now communicated a sense of felt safety and your body is sure that you're safe now, and it can turn off the fight, flight, or freeze response because it perceives that you have outrun the tiger and that it is gone, it knows that it happened. So it files that danger away and is now more sensitive to looking out for it. So the next time you're in that same spot in the woods, or you're walking in a similar spot in the similar type of woods, or the lighting feels similar, or you're alone, or something is similar about the situation, your nervous system, now that has been sensitized to this tiger, is now looking out and scanning more acutely, more than it would have before the incident, before you had to run from the tiger, before it even knew that danger was a possibility. Now it knows that danger is a possibility for you, and you almost died in this tiger escape, this near tiger escape. So now it is sensitized to looking out for danger much more quickly. It responds quicker if you hear a noise in the woods, or if a sound happens, or if anything happens, even just a little bit. Your body, your nervous system, which has stored this incident, is now looking out for it more closely and not consciously. This all happens unconsciously. Your nervous system is now scanning and looking in these situations, and if it hears a sound or a noise, it reacts quicker than it would have before you had that tiger running. Now it happens faster. This is how we sensitize a nervous system. This is how our nervous system gets sensitized. Because now if we have another tiger run in and we have to escape again, the next time we're out in the woods, our nervous system is working even harder. It's listening closer to sounds, to snaps of tree branches, or to the wind, or to any sound or sight or feeling that it gets that there could be a tiger lurking. It is even more aware and more sharply ready, meaning it's prepared, it is more on guard to have you act quicker, faster, to get you to safety because it has learned how to escape that tiger, and you have trained it twice now to unconsciously be ready for the next encounter. So it is more sharply tuned in to any sensory experience that could mean that the tiger is approaching again. So if this happens 4, 5, 10 times, your nervous system becomes an expert. You become completely sensitized. Your nervous system is on guard constantly. It's listening to everything. You jump 10 feet when you hear the wind rustle in the leaves. You don't consciously do this. Your nervous system does this because it has been trained, and your nervous system is ready, and it's on guard, and it's sensitive. It's very sensitive. This is what it means to have a highly sensitive nervous system. You're highly ready. You're highly on guard. Your nervous system is highly tuned in to any sensory experience that says to it, okay, it's coming again, it's going to happen. You need to be ready, faster, stronger, better. You need to get this person to safety quicker, faster, protect her more, better. And so when we are talking about chronic illness and chronic symptoms, and the tiger is our own body, metaphorically speaking, the tiger is our symptoms themselves, we are in a loop, a highly tuned in loop, and this is how chronic illness is created. This is how symptoms are created and how they rapidly fire and move around, and how we convince ourselves that we're dying or we have some terrible terrible disease or illness because the symptoms are erratic, they're outrageous, they're life-threatening, or so they feel life-threatening, because this is the job of a nervous system that cannot get away from danger, that cannot escape danger. And it has perceived danger and a lack of safety in its own being, in its own body. When this happens, chronic illness goes crazy, symptoms go crazy. And these are not just perceived symptoms. These are not just symptoms in your mind. These are real physical symptoms in the body, alarm bells going off, symptoms going off left, right, and center. And you end up with a nervous system that is highly attuned to any symptom that comes up. You wake up and you're already body scanning for, is the same symptom there? Is it there? You're already highly attuned. You're highly sensitized to your own symptoms. You're on the lookout for your own symptoms, whether they're going up, whether they're decreasing. You're constantly circling around and laser focused on your own symptoms because your nervous system is highly attuned and sensitized to any minor symptom at this point. And it is freaking out about all the major symptoms that it is sending you through this adrenaline response. And your reaction is in kind, your fear in kind, your laser focus, your continual running is looping and showing the body that yes, we are in danger. Yes, there is fear. Yes, there is cause for concern. And your reaction to these symptoms are keeping you stuck in this loop. And this is not your fault. You are not doing this. This is why it's really hard. This is why this is one of the hardest and takes the longest amount of time to undo when it comes to nervous system regulation, when it comes to healing. Because we have to undo this highly tuned nervous system. We have to create a new felt sense of safety so that the nervous system stands down and doesn't detect a tiger with every rustling leaf that it hears. And this is a hard job once the nervous system is highly sensitized, right? It's difficult to break this loop. It's difficult to get out of this loop, particularly when we don't have our frontal cortex online, particularly when we can't access or use our conscious awareness or our higher functioning brain to help us out of this, to help us out of this loop, because we're in survival. And the body has shut that higher functioning down in order to keep us safe and protect us. And that's why education is so important. That's why knowing this, learning this is a key part of my program, is a key part of this, because we have to understand it. We have to know it. We have to learn it. We have to bring in our higher functioning mind to be educated on what's happening so that we can respond differently, so that we can allow ourselves to break this pattern. Because if our nervous system has convinced us that we have something and our what if thinking is out of control, and we truly believe that this is not coming from our nervous system, but this is coming from a real, what we would define as a real problem, then we keep looking for solutions. We keep going to doctors. We keep getting prescribed more medication. We keep digging ourselves further and further into the hole of chronic illness. And we're less able to see or find our way out. Because when we're in that fight, flight, or freeze response, right, if we're trying to fix it, change it, solve it, run away from it, stop it, make it stop. If we're in these modes, then we are definitely in survival state, which, like I said, is a state we cannot heal from. And when we get into the parasympathetic state, we can begin to heal from this state. We can actually use the tools. We can actually work with our emotions. We can actually work with our thoughts. We can actually work with our vibration, work with our energy, work with the laws. That diet that we are doing so perfectly, that sleep routine that we are doing so perfectly, actually has a chance to work now. because the body brings back online your higher functioning. It brings back online the ability for these protocols and these tools and these techniques to actually work now, which is how we unravel a chronic illness, which is how we get into a state where all of these tools and practices and everything and protocols that we're doing and using have the chance and the ability to now work with us, to work for us. And so it's a very important piece of the healing puzzle, because showing our nervous system, having our nervous system actually feel safe is the communication that you need to use, right? We are unwinding this nervous system so that it can feel safety, feel what that feels like in the body. And that doesn't mean our symptoms magically go away when we feel safe. They do not. They are the last thing to go away. But how we react and respond to them from this state where we have our higher functioning available to us determines whether the next leaf that we hear or the rustling in the bush, our nervous system will jump back into this spiral or whether we can stay out of it. So nervous system healing goes back and forth. We go in and out of sympathetic and parasympathetic. We go in and out of fight, flight, or freeze. And we go in and out of the felt sense of safety. And what we are building is more and more capacity for safety, longer and longer time in safety, more and more good minutes, more and more good days. Then a trigger will come along, a sound, a felt sense of fear or danger. How we respond, right? Because our nervous system wants to flip us back because it is highly attuned, highly sensitized, and it will flip us right back into that bad day, into that symptom, into a state where we feel like we've lost all of our progress. That is because the nervous system doesn't feel safe. And so it's a process, a highly tuned process that we go through of creating more and more capacity to feel safe and to unwind this through feelings, through a communication of showing the body that it is safe over and over and over. So we spend more and more time in parasympathetic and less time in sympathetic dominant state. But it is like a pendulum. When you are healing, it will swing back and forth depending on what the nervous system, if the nervous system antenna goes up and it detects danger, it will flip you back into that mode quickly without warning. And this is what's happening to people as they make progress in their healing. They have good days, they have bad days. They're feeling better, then they're slammed with symptoms. This is an ongoing pendulum that happens as we build more and more nervous system capacity. And as we build more and more nervous capacity, we must grow our world. We must come face to face with more dangers, with more opportunities. They feel like setbacks to us, but they are truly opportunities to grow more nervous system capacity, to expand our healing and our growth, and to be able to regulate our nervous system. So we must continue to have these challenges as we heal so that our world can expand and our nervous system can expand in its capacity to feel safe in these new challenges that it is facing. But first, depending on how bad your nervous system is dysregulated, we must pull all the way back and begin from the basics, from feeling safety just in your body, just in your safest place in your house, just with you. And then we grow that capacity from there. And like I said, it goes back and forth. People don't think they're healing because why did they not have a symptom one day and then they had this symptom, it appeared again, and it appeared crazily, and maybe more came and all over, and it feels like things are getting worse. And that's because our nervous system is dysregulated. We haven't communicated a felt sense of safety. We are in danger and survival mode, and there is just simply no way to heal from this mode. So if you find yourself coming in and out of it, this is a good sign. It doesn't mean things are going back to square one when you're back in chronic symptoms. It means you're experiencing it again, a new challenge and a new opportunity to regulate what is dysregulated. And so this has been an extremely long video, but a very, very important one. And I hope that you received value from it. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. And if you are ready to learn more, to take your healing into your own hands and become your own healer, you can sign up for my program in the links below. And if you want to find out more about how to heal yourself from chronic illness, then go ahead and watch this video here. And I want to thank you for spending your valuable time with me today. I am sending you so much love, and I will see you in the next video.